Good afternoon, my BC WrestlePod fans, and welcome to another rendition of Dual Dynasty, your weekly WWE review show here at BC WrestlePod. I am Mikey, also known as El Jefe, and I will be running the ones and twos as well as running this quick review for the week of WWE. My co-hosts are either sick or have other obligations that they have to, take care of. So I figured that this is just going to be a quick one. But before I get into everything, if you are new to BC WrestlePod and you want to enjoy more of what we offer, then I highly recommend you subscribing to our YouTube or following us on Twitch or Kick. We also have social medias. We are everywhere at BC WrestlePod, where if you want something more self-contained, like our report cards, our previews for the weekly televisions, and some other fun stuff like predictions and things like that. So it's a lot of fun, and we have a good time here. We also have some merch available at our shop at bcwrestlepodshop.fourthwall.com, where we have a plethora of new designs. We just in time for November. We have a Dia de los Muertos collection, and then coming very soon is our holiday collection for Christmas. It's crazy out here, y'all. It's insane. But with all of that out of the way, let's just jump into it. So I'm going to keep this brief because we had a very interesting week for WWE. We have stated on air over the last couple of weeks that while we enjoy the talent, we're hoping that WWE shifts in terms of where they're going for stories, how they book, their roster and things like that. So I will definitely say I think Raw was definitely a step in the right direction. And we did some new stuff. SmackDown, there were some good things, but there was also some questionable things. But Raw was also questionable as well. So without further ado, how this is going to work is we are going to cover 3 major topics for Raw and 3 for SmackDown. And I'm just going to give you a recap of those thoughts and then give you, my opinion about it. So it's going to keep it quick. So we're going to kick things off with everything that went down this week on Monday Night Raw. So the first topic that I want to discuss is the world title picture and the return and the involvement of one Mr. Logan Paul. All right, let's just get this out of the way. So Raw this week, it kicks off with CM Punk, who is our new world champion over on Raw after beating main event Jey Uso for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship at Saturday night's main event. Punk opened the show, as the proud fighting champion, and that he wants to fight guys like Jay, John Cena, and he lists off Gunther, and he lists off a whole bunch of other superstars in WWE that he wants to fight as the champion. Q, Big Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker are accompanied with Paul Heyman. And, Paul Heyman accuses CM Punk and confronts him about pulling strings, not getting Braun and Reed to be able to participate in that battle royale, to allow them to figure out who would face Punk for the title at Saturday night's main event. And that was crazy. But before we get all into that too, Logan Paul ends up inserting himself in the title conversation. So this was kind of all mixed together. Logan Paul comes out, him and CM Punk go back and forth. Braun and Bronson come out and talk all that mess, which leads into the main event after, the Brawns, as we call them, start jumping CM Punk and Jay coming out for the save. So in the main event, it would be Punk and Jey Uso teaming up against the Brawns. In the main event, it was chaos. The Vision beat down Punk and Jay. Logan pretends to help, knocks Punk out with the brass knuckles. Logan hands the brass knuckles to Heyman, possibly joining the Vision. And I'm just sitting here, and I'm just like, now I know Seth is injured, so War Game plans have changed. However, I am not loving the idea of Logan Paul being involved in War Games and being on the Vision side with things, taking on, Punk and everything. Or it could lead to Punk defending his championship against Logan at Survivor Series, which is also not my favorite plan. But at the same time, it is better than having him be in War Games, in my opinion. I give this a little bit of grace because of the fact that Seth Rollins is injured and we had to shift plans and move things around. But Logan Paul, that was the decision we made at Raw and WWE. But anyways, so this is either going to lead to Braun, Reed, and Logan Paul, as well as two other people, taking on taking on Punk, Jay, maybe. And honestly, I don't know who else is going to be if we're building a Survivor teams, because what makes this tough too is the fact that while this is going on, we also have this tournament to determine who's going to be John Cena's final opponent at Saturday night's main event in December. So you're kind of holding up some people. And the fact that Survivor Series is in like 3 weeks and we are barely starting the build for Survivor Series is kind of crazy. And I feel like because Survivor Series, to me at least, is one of the big four, that the build should have started, concurrently with Saturday night's main event build. But hey, I don't work for WWE. I'm not in the writer's room. I'm not in creative. So who knows? They might know something that I don't. But my final thoughts on this whole thing, it seems that we're going to get a team led by Punk to take on the Vision and whoever else they can scrounge up in a War Games match, which is fine, which is cool, I guess. I have no idea. And again, we shall see. We are 3 weeks out from Survivor Series, so we're going to have to start getting people now. And again, with this tournament for John Cena's final opponent, it's holding some people up, and it's going to be, to me, it's going to be one of those other pay-per-view builds where it's just like, we got to get to the finish line really quickly. We got 3 weeks, like, turn this homework in really quickly, half done, like, let's do it. So, this is weird. We had to change plans, but I think we could have did something better. But hey, again, I'm not working in the creative room, so this is what we're getting. So that is my thoughts. Topic 2, though, and something I am a little bit more excited to talk about, is the fact that it seems that we are building to a Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio match at Survivor Series. Halfway through the show this week, Dominic declares himself the greatest luchador of all time. I mean, he is the WWE Intercontinental Champion and he is the AAA Mega Champion. So, Dominic is holding these belts. Again, Dominic declares that he is the greatest luchador of all times, which then cues Rey to return and, tell us that he is medically cleared. And he challenges Dom's claims, invokes El Santo, Blue Demon, Eddie Guerrero. So, of course, with Eddie's mention, a big emotional reaction from the crowd and a huge Eddie chant because we all love Eddie Guerrero. Dominic, and Rey go back and forth. Dominic tries to beat up Rey, but Rey ultimately delivers a 619 as Dominic escapes. The Judgment Day remains scattered with competing priorities later in the show because Dominic's like, hey, I need you guys to help me out and deal with my dad and Rey. And, Finn and JD are like, no, because we have a championship match coming up. And Raquel and Roxanne are busy with, the women's tag team division at the moment. So Dominic's going to have to be a big boy and figure all this out. So this is funny to say. I'm excited. And again, I think because Rey is from San Diego, definitely want to have him on the card for Survivor Series, which makes me super excited. Now, I am hoping that this is for a championship, but I also want to feel like we need to add the stakes a little bit. Again, we are building this out. It's probably going to be a 3-week build, but unlike Logan Paul being inserted into War Games, I'm excited about. We all know that Rey Mysterio is probably going to retire within the next year or two. It's probably going to be Cena, then it's AJ's retiring next year, and then probably Rey after that. So we don't got Rey for long. I would actually love this to be a title match, but also for it to be some sort of legacy match at Survivor Series where it's a retirement match or something that happens. Who knows what we got in the works. But I don't think Rey is retiring. I think it's going to be for the championship. And honestly, I feel that Dominic should win against Rey because Rey has gotten Dominic's number in their history of fighting each other. So I would love to see Dominic get one over his dad and you know what, push him into the next level of being a superstar, because Dom is amazing. I love Dominic Mysterio. He is fantastic. And the Judgment Day, we need to break them up. Like, I think it's time. We have ran its course. I thought we were breaking them up, and then we did it, and then there was the tease breakup, and then not again. I think we need to break up the Judgment Day, let everyone go their separate ways. I know they're probably waiting for Liv Morgan to come back so we can do all this, but they're not going anywhere. Like, I don't understand what we're doing anymore. They're just kind of just treading water, so to speak. So we need to break up the Judgment Day. And I'm hoping that by the end of this year, the Judgment Day will be no more. But that was one of the things I did like. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about for Raw, and probably my favorite thing, is that the women's division is kind of cooking on both shows. Raw has gotten really, really good in terms of the women's division. This was a lot of fun. And, you know, this was great. So let's talk about the women's division on Raw this week, right? So the Judgment Day girls take on our women's world champion, Stephanie Vaquer and Nikki Bella. Nikki and Stephanie lose after Nikki gets pinned. Raquel Rodriguez next week is getting a title shot, so that should be a really good match. Nikki Bella later in the show has a crisis of confidence. Stephanie lifts her spirits, which means to tell me, I was like, Nikki's about to turn on this girl very, very soon. So that's probably going to be a feud for Stephanie for a little bit. So I'm like, okay. Meanwhile, over in the tag team division, the Kabuki Warriors have a fantastic match against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. This was probably my favorite match on Raw, and honestly, probably my favorite match of the whole entire week for WWE of main roster. So the Kabuki Warriors beat Bayley and Valkyria and immediately, you know, start going after Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair for the tag titles, which then leads into Asuka misting Alexa and Charlotte backstage to escalate the feud. We then get a Becky Lynch promo, and she cuts a brutal promo on Maxine Dupree, which is setting up some sort of grudge match, and I'm looking forward to it. And honestly, the women's division, I think, is finally on the right track. I'm hoping that we develop this more because, again, we have the Judgment Day girls going up against Nikki and Stephanie, so that's taking care of our world title picture. Meanwhile, in the tag team division, we have Lyra and Bayley and the Kabuki Warriors. And then with the tag team titles going to both Raw and SmackDown, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair are out here doing the darn thing. So I've really been enjoying the women's division. I'm really hoping that they allow this to breathe and to not get this done and over with. And I think we are getting set up for our women's War Games match potentially, which I'm very interested to see how we're going to get there. But again, 3 weeks to me is not like a very long build, but we are finally going to hopefully this week, get into who's going to be on the Women's War Games team. So this should be really, really fun. So yeah, Raw is very good. Again, my final thoughts on Raw before going over to SmackDown is that I'm not really feeling the World Championship scene. I'm happy that Punk has the title, and I'm excited to see where it goes. However, I don't like Logan Paul's involvement. The Brawns are kind of just spinning their wheels a little bit, and I'm just trying to figure out. I know we had to pivot because of Seth being injured, but I'm really hoping that leading into Survivor Series and then leading out of Survivor Series for the remainder of the year, that we do something different. So the women's division on Raw is killing it right now. I love everybody involved, and I'm looking forward to this Dominic and Rey match at Survivor Series. Let's make it for a title or some sort of crazy stipulation. Let's have fun with it. Alrighty, so now let's get into the blue brand. So let's talk about Friday Night SmackDown, okay. SmackDown was okay. It was not great. I'm going to be completely honest with all of you. SmackDown was okay this week. There was some stuff I liked. There was a lot of things I have questions on. So let's just jump into it. Probably my biggest question right now is the Cody Rhodes storyline of what we're getting. So Cody's, the backfire that is what we're getting. So Cody opens the show. Again, if you did not watch Saturday night's main event, I do not blame you because it was an okay show. But Cody Rhodes ended up beating Drew McIntyre by using the belt, which I'm just like, we did this with Kevin Owens earlier this year, or towards the tail end of last year leading into their match at the Royal Rumble. So we're doing this again. but it is what it is at this point. Cody opens up. Cody wants the fans to decide who his next challenger should be, which then cue Aleister Black with Zelina at hand. Aleister steps up. Zelina slaps Cody, and Cody tells Aleister that they're going to main event the show. So I was like, okay, cool. Aleister versus Cody. We're treading AEW territory ground in terms of feud, but hey, this could probably go be a good match. I like Aleister. I like Cody. This should be fun. We get to the main event, and of course, we can't have a champion lose for some odd reason, and the match ends in chaos after Drew McIntyre claymores the referee. We also have Damian Priest running in, brawls with everyone. Aleister escapes. At the end of the show, Nick Aldis suspends Drew McIntyre, and I'm just like, this is chaotic AF. Like, what are we doing with this? Like, I get that champions should be presented in a good light, but it's okay. You can have champions lose, especially if it's a non-title match. In my opinion, champions can lose. It makes a more interesting story, and it doesn't make them any weaker. But you have Drew still running around in the story. Damian and Aleister are still fighting each other, apparently. Now they're all mixed into this. Cody's direction is really, really weird. I honestly think we're probably going to get a fatal four-way, or we're going to get a triple threat between Cody, Aleister, and Damian at least. If not, we're going to get a fatal four-way with those three plus Drew. Cody is not going to be involved in the War Games match, so to me, Cody has to have an opponent for Survivor Series. My money is probably that triple threat, or, fatal four-way at Survivor Series, try to get everybody on the card, which is cool and everything, but I don't know how I feel, and I'm just like, it is what it is. It's whatever. We'll be fine, I guess. But yeah, I'm not really digging Cody as champion right now. I mean, I like Cody. I just don't like how we're booking him. I don't like the contenders and the feuds that we've gotten for him, because since he won it since Mania, we have had him not really do much of substance, to be completely honest. This title reign has kind of been eh. And you know what? We'll see what happens. Again, we are 3 weeks out from Survivor Series. We will see how plans fall into place. But that is what's going on in the main event scene, and I'm not necessarily digging it. Meanwhile, we're going to go over to the mid-card division, where I am 50-50 because we have the men's mid-card titles doing really good. And then I have lots of questions, in terms of the women's stuff, which we're going to get into in my third topic. But let's talk about the U.S. title scene and the mid-card entanglement, specifically on the men's division. So, in a fantastic match, Ilya Dragunov retains his United States Championship against Johnny Gargano after Tommaso Ciampa maneuvers him into the match. This is kind of crazy. Well, Dragunov wanted him. Ciampa wanted it, but Dragunov was like, no, I want to fight Johnny. So we got Johnny versus Dragunov in a really fun match. But before that match happened, though, Sami Zayn is still not medically cleared, according to Nick Aldis, and he can't be at ringside because he's not medically cleared, but Sami vows he won't stand by forever because the MFTs are running around and they're about to pop up, which, we see because Ilya gets surrounded by the MFTs. Sami comes out with the chair for the save. So this is, Sami. Well, Sami and the MFTs are crazy. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Meanwhile, we fast forward to Tala Tonga taking on Rey Fenix, and Tala Tonga beats Rey. The MFTs beat up Rey, and then that causes Sami to come on out for the save. So we still got Sami and Rey with the MFTs, which is also overlapping with the US title environment. And honestly, I'm kind of digging this. So I think at this point, Ilya Dragunov is probably one of my favorites. I think within the last couple of weeks, I've always been a fan of Ilya, even since NXT UK, and then when he came over to the United States for NXT, and I'm really digging this. I'm going to be completely honest. I would rather see Sami and Rey and grab a couple other people and take on the MFTs and whoever they can find for War Games more than I like the idea of Team CM Punk versus, the Vision and whoever else they can get. But who knows? We shall see what happens with all of that, because we also got the Wyatts running around. They be fighting with people. Who knows what's going on? So I'm enjoying all of this. And I think the men's mid-card is off to a really fun start and very intriguing. Now, I will say I'm over Sammy fighting the Bloodline / MFTs, like all the Samoans. I want Sammy to move on with something, but at least it is interesting for me because Solo Sikoa is starting to come back to what I loved him for in NXT, where he's a bruiser, but he's also funny as heck. So hopefully that is the case of what goes down with all of that, which brings me to my final topic for SmackDown, which is the women's division. And we have good things and some not so fun things to talk about. So let's start about some of the stuff I really like. So Jade Cargill comes out. She is our new WWE Women's Champion. Again, everyone now loves a heel Jade, and I've been saying since she joined the company 2 years ago, I was just like, if you want Jade to get over really quickly, you need to give her the baddie Jade from AEW. Let her be a heel because she's more in her element when she gets to talk her ish. That is all that happens with all of that. So Jade establishes dominance as the new women's champion and tells the women's roster that they are on notice. As she's leaving, Alexa and Charlotte come out as Charlotte has a match against Nia Jax. Charlotte immediately steps up and Jade and her have a little bit of a stare down. So we get into Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax, which, we see the SmackDown debut as she's been called up from NXT of the wonderful Miss Lash legend. And I love Lash to death. She is great. And I love it. It's fantastic. She is phenomenal. And I'm so happy to see her on SmackDown. I think she's going to be great. Her and Nia being paired together is going to be a lot of fun. And you have those two taking on Alexa and Charlotte, the Kabuki Warriors, Miss Charlotte and Alexa again. So we got a, double branded tag team, championship division for Raw and SmackDown, and it's craziness. So that should be a lot of fun. So Nia ends up winning with the help of Lash to beat Charlotte. And like I said, the Kabuki Warriors, Miss Charlotte and Alexa again. So things are getting crazy out here. So while it's a little over bloated for me, I am excited that, the women's tag team division is at least doing something. However, let's get into the women's United States Championship because I am of two minds. We get Julia defending her title against Chelsea Green. I love me some Julia. Everybody knows that I've been following her since her, time in Stardom and Mighty Gold and Japan in general before coming to NXT and now being on the main roster. Chelsea Green is one of my favorites too. Not only is she a fantastic character and a fun wrestler to watch, but she is a girl's girl. She will call people out on their racism, their homophobia, their transphobia, not toxic behavior. Chelsea truly is a queen, and she gets one of these from me because Chelsea Green is amazing. However, what I was surprised by is that this match was less time than a WWE speed match, and Chelsea Green in 2 minutes beats Julia for the Women's United States Championship, which I love. I love it. Chelsea's going to do fun stuff with, but this is where I have to call out Hunter and the creative team of main roster because we don't know how to book champions for some odd reason. I had the same issue with Judgment Day that I do with Julia. When Julia won the title off of Zelina Vega, I was excited because Julia is that girl. She can kick all the butt and she could have a fun run. Julia defended this thing twice. And then she had this match against Chelsea and lost it. And I'm just trying to figure out what we are doing with Julia. Even though Julia had the Women's United States Championship, she should have been booked like her counterpart on Raw with Stephanie Vaquer. I think Julia should be a dominant champion. You should have her have feuds. Let her fight people for it. I just don't understand why Hunter would not let Julia be on TV. And I want people saying it's oh, she can't speak English. Girl, you need to watch her promos from Stardom and Mighty Gold when she cut those promos in English. Her English is very good, and that's not even a non-factor. It's just that for whatever reason, Hunter cannot book these champions, especially if they are of a minority persuasion. So I'm just I don't get it. And it frustrates me because I love Chelsea. She's going to do phenomenal stuff. But why did we give Julia the championship if she wasn't going to be getting anything creative, she wasn't going to be given a feud, she wasn't going to be able to do anything fun? I don't understand. And it's SmackDown's women's division. I will say, I think the characters are probably my favorites more than the women on Raw right now. However, it's very uneven. Raw, at least the women's division over there, has a solid game plan because we have the Judgment Day girls and then Bailey and Lyra, Becky and Maxine are feuding for, which is a lot of fun to see. Of course, we have Stephanie and Nikki involved. So that women's division's doing great. But then over on SmackDown, we're kind of just running all over the place. We called up Lash Legend, and she's with Nia. Charlotte and Alexa are traveling between both shows. So is the Kabuki Warriors. I mean, Jade is about to have a match with B-Fab next week, and it seems that her and Michin might be involved, which is fun. But there's not a solid game plan for SmackDown. And then when Chelsea Green being a double champ is fun, but it's also very hard because, what's next for Julia? What do we do with her? Because I still don't understand why Kiana James is paired with her. I really don't know. It's really weird. But I'm really hoping that with Chelsea, we now get to do more with the Women's United States Championship. I'm really hoping that they either have Julia feud with Chelsea or we push Julia to do something else. Like, let's build her up, because that tweet she sent out about she's literally going to crash out and she's going to take everyone out. I'm really hoping that means we can start pushing Julia to the top of the card, because I feel like that's where she should be, and it would be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's it for this week's WWE review. Overall, I think that Raw was definitely pretty good. SmackDown was hit or miss. And you know what? Again, we are 3 weeks out from Survivor Series, which, is going to be fun for everyone involved. And I will be there live. So if you happen to be going to Survivor Series, make sure to say hi. Stop by and say hi. I'm excited to be there live. I think despite my criticisms, I'm excited to be there at Survivor Series, and I will get to take my mom to her first big WWE event, and it happens to be a big pay-per-view, which is a lot of fun. But that's going to be it for me here at Dual Dynasty. But before I sign off for the afternoon, I do want to go over what this week looks like in terms of reviews. And it's a pretty simple week. So again, this week is kind of the calm before the crazy storm. It is a regular review week. Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, the AEW crew will be here reviewing this past Dynamite and Collision, as we are heading into Blood and Guts this week. And then we are 1 week out from Full Gear pay-per-view, which is a lot of fun. And I'm excited to do the watch along for that. Then on Wednesday, you get the double dose of the double header reviews, where the NXT crew will be here to review. I guess you can call it a go-home show, but this is the last NXT before we get into the 2 weeks of NXT Gold Rush, which is happening in the Madison Square Garden Theater in New York. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then later that evening at 8 p.m. Pacific, the CMLL crew will be here to review another exciting episode of Viernes Espectacular, where we get the return of Soberano Jr., we get the debut of Austin Aries representing MLW, and TJP from New Japan Strong returns to team up with Templario, as well as a plethora of other fun stuff. Then on Friday, TNA is finally back after 4 weeks of not having any shows. And the crazy part is it's a regular review episode. And we will also be doing predictions for TNA's Turning Point, which is happening this Friday. So we don't know what's happening with the pay-per-view. We don't know what's on the card. This is going to be kind of crazy. And I'm excited to see what happens with all of this. And then we wrap up the week on Sunday at our regular scheduled time of 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard, where we will be reviewing another week of Raw and SmackDown. And yeah, that's a lot of fun, and I look forward to it. But that's going to be it for us here at Dual Dynasty. I look forward to this week in reviews, and I hope to see you all there. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay biconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you later this week, hopefully. But in the meantime, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay biconic, and, well, I already said the thing. You know what I mean. But we're going to catch you later. But until then, I will see you soon. But until then, sayonara, adios, And until next time, peace.